I just want to talk to you about this figure of 8 because I did a video and a couple of you have messaged me. I don't quite get it. So when you first meet somebody, you are absolutely besotted. You're in love. You're falling in love. It's like a drug. This moment, this honeymoon period, is a release of adrenaline. It's a hormone. It's like a drug. The term for this is limerence. So whilst you are experiencing limerence, you're both in limerence. I just can't get off the phone with this person. I can't see them enough. I love them. Everything about them, I love them. Oh, they're just the best thing ever. And we've all been there. We're all in this part of the relationship. And whilst it's wonderful, limerence does wear. Now, the two people in the relationship, limerence can wear at altering times. They don't do it at the same time. One person can fall out of limerence faster than the other. But here's where a potential trauma cycle begins, because the addiction to limerence, and it can be an actual addiction, this addiction to limerence can be the trigger for trauma cycles. So what then can happen is I'm not getting the attention, I'm not getting that admiration, I'm not getting that being adorned the way I was in the beginning, so I'm going to pick an argument, or I'm going to do something, whether it's withholding love, whether it's withholding sex, whether it's intimacy, whether it's passive aggressive comments, whether it's those jabby, my husband and I call them ugly jokes, the jokes that are just not necessarily, they're ugly jokes, they're made in a joke capacity, but they are unkind jokes, the ones that hurt. Whatever it is, bringing up something that is going to trigger your partner, whatever. The reason you're doing it is because it's going to cause a fallout. And when the fallout happens, you're going up the figure of 8. When you're coming back down, in order to go back up again, to come down again in this figure, what happens is then you have makeup. The makeup, intimacy, the affection, the love, the adoration, the words of love, the gestures of love, the presents, the gifts, the makeup, intimacy, all of it, you're back into limerence again. But what happens is after a while that normalizes again and down you go. So you will go back, causing the disconnect so that you can have the connect again. This is the figure 8. This is the trauma cycle that you're caught in. So it's really important. I know a lot of you are watching this thinking, oh my gosh, I need to watch this again. This sounds so familiar. The natural response in many of these circumstances when you're watching a video is you think of somebody else. But actually what I want most of you to do is think about your own relationships and don't think about your partner. Think about yourself, what accountability you have in this. There's nothing wrong with this. And this is not me thinking or saying to any of you, you're wrong for doing this, because we all want to be, in the eyes of our partner, the only person they are attracted to, the only person they see. We all want to be adorned like the early days. However, love is a different type of love. Just because they love you in a less limerence high way doesn't mean they love you any less. It's just a different type of love. It's a deeper love. It's somehow a better love, but we really need to look at this trauma cycle and understand it and try to break the cycle. So if you catch yourself doing it, think about what you can do to stop the cycle happening. If you're witnessing your partner now engaging in it, what can you do differently to support, to love, to nurture your partner so that they don't start this cycle again? I remember very early days in my own marriage, there's a joke, Terry, my husband, and I, quite often we tell this story to other people because it's really funny. We were in a car very quickly and I said, do you want to have a fight? And he said, what do you mean, have a fight? I said, do you want to have a fight? He said, well, what would we fight about? And I said, you know what, this is my code for saying to you, I just want a bit more attention. And he said, well, I'm giving you attention. I've been talking to you non-stop for the last hour. I'm sitting in a car alone with you. What attention? And you really realise, having these conversations, whilst it's very funny and you're laughing about them, you really realise that just because he was sitting in a car with me and talking to me for the last hour, he felt incredibly connected and like he was giving me loads of attention. And what I needed was a little bit of physical connection, a little bit of physical intimacy, just holding hands for a second, or stop driving and just look at me for a second, or whatever it was. I can't remember, this was many years ago, and that's the code. And you'll often hear us laugh, and when we're together I'll say, shouldn't have a fight, and he'll know that I'm asking for attention. There is nothing wrong with asking your partner for attention. Nothing. There's no shame, there's no embarrassment, and vice versa. Guys, you can do this to your partner as well. There's no reason you can't. You just have to have these conversations and start to recognize your trauma cycles and stop engaging in this figure of 8, because they are nothing but damaging psychologically, mentally, spiritually, and to your relationship and to the bond, and disrespectful to the love that you have to one another. And most of all, if you have children, gosh, the trauma it causes to your children is unspeakable. There's a lot for you to think about there, guys.